Hello one and all, welcome back to DragonBorn Industries, where I've got a pretty cool unboxing for you today. Hi, I'm Ian the Dragonborn Bard as always, and this right here is the Game Master's character role-playing starter paint set from the Army Painter. And what this is for people who are just maybe getting into miniature painting, maybe they're just getting into D&D, maybe they're just picking up becoming a dungeon master, and the Army Painter have started doing a range of the Game Master's sets that allow you to get into mini painting, to get into terrain building, to get into those little extra bits of the hobby that maybe you didn't think of before, and or maybe you did and you didn't know where to start. And this is a phenomenal place to start. I'm very privileged to have actually had two of these. One I got through Band of Badgers a little while back for a show that we did with Adam from the Army Painter, and this one came to me in the post from the Army Painter today, and I really wanted to dig into it and show you guys why this is a good set and also what you get in there. So I hope you're all doing well. This is probably going to be a nice quick unboxing video because I already know what's in here, so I'm just going to try and show it off the best I can. If you've got any questions, feel free to shout them out in chat. If you watch it on YouTube, I'll stick links in the description below for everything that's going on and where you can get these, and a link to the Army Painter website. I'll also link in the description below, if you're watching on YouTube, the Army Painter YouTube channel, because at 100,000 subscribers, which I think they're only like a couple of thousand away from, they are giving away a huge paint rack, which is going to be pretty incredible. Either way, right now I'm going to dive into this. If there's anything in particular you want to see, let me know. If not, we're just going to crack straight on. So I've already taken the cellophane off, and unfortunately my box through UPS did take a little bit of a battering, but I know what's in there and it should be fine. I've not had a look yet, but I'm actually just going to show you the box. So awesome bit of artwork on there, but you end up with a small smattering of paints, enough that you could paint the 5 free minis that you get inside it. So it's essentially, you're buying a paint set and you're getting 5 free minis, which could be like pre-generated characters, or it could be something that you have as NPCs that you can throw towards your players. Hey, the Mist Lounge, how you doing? We are just going to do an unboxing on this, the Army Painter Game Master Character Starter role-playing paint set, as this turned up today from the Army Painter. So yeah, we're going to crack on and show you what you get inside. Oh, hello, Lady Jane Lynn. Yeah, it's pretty exciting, and a couple of the reasons that I'm very grateful to be getting another one of these is one of my favourite paints, which is the Oak Brown, but also known as Bear Brown in this particular set, or in this range, the Game Master range, is one of my favourite paints, and it's one of my base browns that I go with all the time, so I'm getting another one in here, so I'm very excited about that, because that one's nearly empty. But let's grab the trays out of what you get in here. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope everyone is in good order. So I'm going to put that one to one side. Obviously, we've got the paint here, and essentially that's what the kit is all about, is giving you a starter set of paints to get you on your miniature painting journey, which is what the Army Painter want people to get into. And although they have what's called a tricolour system, a triode, where they like to have like colours in threes, they've just kept it basic with this one. But if you do end up going into buying the Army Painter things, it's worth knowing that when you get like a green, for example, like it'll be Elven Green here, but it'll probably be Angel Green in their other ones. There will be a colour either side of that, or there'll be 2 other colours that you can layer up with, and they do a really cool system there. But I'm just going to hold that open with my paint mug. And we'll go through the paints that you get, because you've got some paints in here, and there's also metallics, and there's washes in this one here. So, starting off, we've got that Bear Brown, which is quite literally one of my most used paints. It's such a rich brown, especially over black. Come on, focus up, camera. I would like you to see that one there. I use this for most base layers on so many different colours. It is one I use for reds, I use it for skin tones. And that camera's really not going to focus on those words. Of course it's not. It does it before the stream with everything else, but not when we're live. No, that'd be too simple. Oh well. But there's a brown, and you can see it underneath. It's a really nice brown. I use it a lot. Anybody who watches the paint shows will know that that one's there. Your standard Chaos Black. This is a go-to with many different properties to it that I really like. One, it's a matte, which I really like. Two, it matches the Army Painter Chaos Black matte black primer, and it is a perfect match. So if you miss a bit on your mini, or if it's a little bit thin, you can patch it up with that one there. The same goes for the Lawful White, or as it's known in the rest of the range, is the Matte White. And again, that one matches up to their primers. You then get a Dryad Brown. This is like a tan brown, which is really good for those second layers on things like leatherwork, but also on brighter colours as well. You then get a Orc Grey. It's like a mid-tone grey. Really, really quite a useful one, especially if you're highlighting over black. The Wildfire Orange is really cool. I like this a lot because it's slightly more muted than you'd expect like a really bright orange to be, but it is just right over a yellow to be a perfect flame, which actually one of the minis in this set has a flame in their hand, so it works really well for highlighting that. But also, it makes for really good rust. If you water this down and stipple it over the top of whatever you're trying to rust, and then use a brown ink over the top of it, say through an airbrush, you get a really cool rusted effect, which actually I can show you. It's very much like that, what we did with our Sci-Fi GM screen. So I like thinning that down and using it for staining and for rust. You've got Elven Skin. This is a very light skin tone. It's actually probably one that I use the least because it is a little bit peachy and a little bit yellow. It doesn't matter for certain aspects of layering up, or you can add white to it and things like that, but I actually tend to stick to some of the other tones that they do in their other sets. But it's a good beginning, especially if you're going to use a wash over it. I'll just zoom the camera out there to see if I can get it to focus better, because this is the Angelic Yellow, and this is properly bright. In the rest of the range, I believe it's called Demonic Yellow, but it is a proper popper, which is completely awesome. I use that a lot. I use that, again, for highlighting. And I start with like something like the Oak or Bear Brown, and then build up to something like that, and you end up with a really nice set of tones. Ancient Bones. This is probably, and when we were chatting to Adam with Band of Badgers, one of the most used paints from the Army Painter. It is probably, along with Chaos Black, their most sold one. And it is basically skeleton bone, and it is used for absolutely everything. I don't know if that camera is liking the stream tonight. Certainly not enjoying focusing on that writing, but we're going to have to plug on through anyway. So I may as well zoom back in because it's not going to make a difference. Right. This is one of my favourite colours as well. This came out with the second run, I think it was, of the Mega Paint sets, and it was with the acrylic sets. So it was not the speed paints or the air paints, but the standard wargaming set. That was it. This is the turquoise. It's called Hydra Turquoise. Hey, Fluffy, how you doing? It's the Hydra Turquoise, and this thing really does go well on top of greens or blues. I use it a lot for highlighting things like seats in my Starfinder game stuff, or a lot of blues, and just giving it like little corner highlights, especially over colours like the Kraken Blue, which is essentially your ultramarine blue. It's a nice deep colour, and it works really well for most things. We've also got Rosy Skin. Again, this one is a skin tone that I would use more often. In the Warhammer range, it's very close to Cadian Flesh, and I find that this one is a fantastic highlighter, or if you are using washes, wash with something like Flesh Wash, which you actually get in the set, which we'll get to in a minute, and then highlight again with the same one. It's a really, really good paint for that. Neutral Red. This is one of the other ones in there, and again, another fantastic red. Yesterday, when we were painting up Barry Burton from the Resident Evil games, I started with a dark red, which is the same as the Dragon Red from the Army Painter, and I will highlight that with this particular colour. We've got two more colours left. We've got the Elven Green, which I think is actually the same as either the Angel or the Goblin Green from their regular sets, and it is a pretty standard go-to mid-range green. It's a bit deeper and a bit more vibrant than something like a khaki or anything like that, but it is not so dark that you would have to just lighten it up or anything. So I think that was a good choice on their greens. And the last one is Worm Purple. Again, another vibrant purple, which is really quite fun. And if you know purple worms, there's a reason it's called Worm Purple. So they're the main acrylic colours that you get. But then there's more, because the extra bits that you get are these 5 bottles right here. And these are really good because they cover a few extra little techniques and a few extra little things. The first one, we've already spoken about it, is washers. Washers are something that I've recently moved more away from, but it's not necessarily something that I don't always avoid. I do like to do them, and I also use washers for like painting in some shadows sometime, but not covering the mini. But if you're just getting into mini painting, washers are fantastic. If you put a few base layers on, do a little bit of highlighting, you can then stick a wash over a mini, and it'll not only hide any imperfections, but it'll sink into those recesses and really show the detail out without needing to know too much technique. But it is effective, and if you're just getting tabletop ready, that is kind of what you want. But what you get in this is a shadow wash. So this is a black, and then you also get a flesh wash, which is like a medium brown. So obviously the shadow wash is really good for most shadowy areas or most grimy things, and the flesh wash obviously for skin tones, which is really, really useful if you're not used to painting people's faces. Hey Geeky, how you doing? Hope you're all good. We're just doing a quick unboxing tonight of the Game Masters character paint set from the Army Painter, which came through today. The next 2 paints you get are metallics, and the metallics that you get are, again, pretty standard colours, but they are very, very good. So the first one being a Deadly Iron. This is a little bit brighter than something like Lead Belcher from Citadel, but it is very, very good for layering up. And again, it's one of those ones where if you do a base layer of this, stick a wash like that shadow wash on it, and then pick out the highlights with this same one again, that's all you need to do, and it is really, really effective. It's a very, very good metallic paint. The other one in the metallic range is Dwarf Gold. This is like a really rich, deep gold. It's not necessarily as dark as Ribanator Gold from Citadel, but it is a really nice base color, again, for a lot of those metallic golds that we would find. It's very rich, it's very yellow, and it's got a little hint of that orange in there as well. But again, this one pairs up really nice with washers for beginner painting. And actually, instead of using something like the shadow wash, if you use the flesh wash over gold, you will get an amazing brown to gold look going on, and it's a fantastic place to start with metallics. The last of the paints that you get in this set is actually, if you're new to mini painting, this is so important, because a lot of people would get a mini, they would just stick a load of paint on it, and then that's that. If you didn't know that you need to prime them first, that's one of the steps that if you miss can really mean that all that paint comes off after a short amount of time. You may not know about spray painting or priming in the sense of getting it from a rattle can, like the Army Painter do with matte white or Chaos Black, or, you know, Citadel do it. So many companies do it, and that's the most common way that most of us in the hobby know what to do. However, if you're coming new to it or you don't have a place in which you can spray, they give you some great undercoat. This is a brush-on primer, which is relatively thick, but when it dries, gets really, really thin, and it's almost as good as a spray primer, in my opinion. I have used this for minis. I use it for the bases. I use it for, actually a while ago when I had the first one of these from Band of Badgers, I did it on that stream where I painted up the Warlock from this set, and I used that primer to show you that it's just a case of brush it on and go from there. So if you don't have a place to spray, or you don't have a place to prime with an aerosol, then this is very, very good for that. And if you're just new to the hobby, or if maybe you're looking to get somebody a gift, maybe you've got younglings who are looking to get into D&D and miniature painting and getting into Warhammer miniature painting, it's a fantastic place to start with paints like that. The other things that you get in here are really quite funky as well. I'll move on to the rest of this in a second. The freebies that you get with it, because those freebies are really, really nice for you and I who are maybe already a DM or a player and you want a mini for your next campaign or for your next NPCs, your next player characters, or if you're just getting into it and you want to practice, they're really cool, but we'll get onto those. So, the first thing we will look at is this booklet here. This is the Army Painter Painting Guide, which is a free copy they hand out in most places, but they stick it in here as well. And it tells you a little bit about you know, how to prepare, how to spray, how to paint, how to dip, which is another system that they have, or how to do the finishing touches. And you can see down there that you've got things like applying washes or getting more time for gaming with just doing a quicker section of like dipping into a wash. Or you've got things like priming your miniatures with sprays, you've got preparation, about cleaning, about cutting them from the sprues. So all those like little tiny things where maybe you don't necessarily go and watch YouTube videos and you'd like to just learn as you go, or maybe you prefer to read about something, this little booklet's great for that. And color theory. This is probably one of the things that I need to take on more myself, because when we look at color theory, when we know about colors, it makes painting a hell of a lot easier. But what they have in here is this color wheel here. And this is named with all of their paints, but well, I say all of, some of their paints to show you which ones go where, which ones are opposites, and which ones can be done in which way. So you've got complementary, split complementary, and analogs there. So we're looking at like analogs being like all in the same factors from reds to yellows, split complementary being like reds against blues and greens, and then complementary being like opposite colors on the wheel. So if you knew that you had something like, let's see what we've got in here, pure red, which I know is that neutral red. We know that electric blue is opposite that on the wheel. So we could be like, okay, I want something to be equals and opposites. Let's go there. Or you could go along this line here and be like, okay, well, I want it to be fiery, so I'm going to go with demonic yellow, probably fire lizard or lava orange and pure red. And you can have a look at those there and then. So that's a useful bit in that book. They talk about basing, something that isn't overly done in many other paint sets that I've seen that people can get. But they talk about it there. They talk about assembling your models and the best sort of stuff you can use for that. And obviously this shows off their products and what you can buy from their range, but also it does tell you that you can go off and find other companies that would have the same or similar things that you're not necessarily used to using or knowing to look for. How to use a color primer. All those little things that, like, when I first got into the hobby, they weren't there. Like, I literally went to a Games Workshop and people were like, hey, do you want me to prime that for you and put the base layers on and then you can do the rest? And I'd be like, oh yeah, sure, not a problem. Or they just sit you at a table with a load of shit brushes and no primer, and that was that. Whereas now, things like this really make a difference. You've got about brushes, how to clean them, every brush for every job. Yeah, and it just goes through, and like the 126 war paints, you can see them all there. And the book just doesn't not find a useful area within your arsenal. So I would strongly recommend, if you go to a con and you see them and you want to get into painting minis, or you want to see color theory, it's a nice way of getting hold of some of that information just there. Then they also have this little booklet. This is the How to Paint Character Starter role-playing paint set, which is the set obviously that we're looking at here. They also do in this range a load of terrain making ones, and I think they're coming out with monster painting ones as well, which is very, very cool. There's a really cool looking hag that I want to get and paint up because there are some really cool bits to do. So you get the how to paint these particular characters. It shows you how to cut and assemble. It shows you which colors to use to get a basic set of base layers on there, how to wash, how to detail. And it gives you like little QR codes that you can scan and then tag basically the company in with your pictures on Instagram, social medias and stuff, which is awesome. There you go. There are the wandering monsters, which is the hag and the ogre or the troll. And you've got your foam sets there, which come with a foam primer that doesn't melt the primer, which is really cool. So I'm hoping that one day we'll get hold of those as well. But for now, this is what they've sent out, and that's very cool. I'm very grateful. And this is a little flyer for the build your own epic dungeons from the Game Master range there. Again, you get a few paints in there. You get the primers, you get some glue, you get some little bits to just really do all of the kind of terrain crafting that you expect to do with foam, which is really quite fun. And if you're in the UK and you find it hard to get hold of XPS, that's going to be the one to get hold of. And one of the cherries on the cake that I find is this. I really liked this when we first opened it with Band of Badgers, because the extra little thought to give players a town called Farbend, or a little village called Farbend, and give it a little map, but then also to give you a quest on the back there, so that you could take this to a table as a one-shot, give players the characters that you've painted. Maybe it's your first time GMing, or maybe it's something that like you want to get people into, and you go, right, pick a character, we're going to play through this. And you have this little quest here, and this little ad-lib, awesome, a village in need, and it's just a fun little thing to play. here we are with the last two bits. This, I am very grateful for. This is the Game Master starter set brush. This is a phenomenal paintbrush. This is the same as the Regiment brush, and it has a very good point on it, but it's really good for applying base layer of paints. And yeah, my one, which I was quite literally using yesterday, is just starting to fray there, and that's after a year of use. So I'm very grateful for them always having these in there as well. It's a fantastic brush, and I will be heavily using that. Oh, this is an ad. Yeah, essentially, I got in touch with the Army Painter Geeky to see if they would sponsor the Painting Up the Monster Manual show with Richard, which is back tomorrow, midday, at 12 o'clock with Warrior Prince 3D, where we're doing the Bahia. It's a huge mini, and I'm petrified of doing it, and he's going to die real quick. And they were like, oh, well, your metrics aren't quite there yet, but we really like the energy, so we're going to send you out this set. And yeah, I'm very, very grateful that they've sent it out. So I'm doing an unboxing on it, and then hopefully in the future we might get some sponsorship. So here's to that. But these minis are so detailed. For free minis that you get with some paint, I'm going to see if I can stand up and get those a little bit more focused, because I really want to show those off. Let's take this all the way out. See if I can get that too. Oh, I really wish this would focus for you. I have to have a word with my camera after this. But, not that you can overly see those. Fantastic TV watching right there, and me holding blurry things to a camera. I wonder if I can use this one. Which one are you? Oh, let's see if we can get in. Is it you? No, it's not you. Door. It's not going to be there, is it? Unless... There it is! So, we're going to grab this camera, because this one might focus in a bit better. Let's turn that one up to there. So, these minis have... There we go. You can see it down there. For something that you get 3... There is so much detail on it. The wood behind the shield, the armor plating on the boots, the bases, the fact that they are detailed is amazing. And what's really cool about these minis is, let's turn that one around because they're all different directions. They're all snapped together. You do not need glue to put these minis together. You can quite literally push them together and they hold. And that is exactly what I did with mine on the ones we got from the Band of Badgers show. That, see if we can leave that focused on there, is what's in those. Let's grab. Me messing about with cameras. So yeah, they are very, very cool. And the characters that you get are going to be... So we have Xerxic, the Warlock Tiefling, which is this guy right here. Which is nice to get a Tiefling mini, actually, to be honest, and one that's so well detailed, because I find that I don't overly have a lot of those in my collection. You also get Daeric. This is Daeric, the Wood Elf Ranger. Very Legolas looking there. You get Holgrim, the Dwarf Cleric. Who doesn't love a Dwarf Cleric? Standard D&Ding. We've got Freya. Where is she gone? There she is. Hard to see on this one. Whoop. Freya the Human Fighter. Come on. That's not going to show. And we also have Corleen the Human Rogue as well. And Yeah, they're just stunning little minis, to be honest. And for something that you get as part of a collection, I'm not complaining at all in the slightest. The Army Painter have done it amazingly well and amazingly well detailed. And the faces alone, the last time I painted some of these, they were an absolute pleasure. Eyes, relatively easy to get in there and do, especially even with this brush, which is quite thick. So that was really quite fun. I can't recommend this set enough if you are just getting into miniature painting and if you are just coming to the table as a new hobbyist. I also can't recommend this set enough if you are already in the hobby and you are looking to get some extra minis, because let's face it, we all love extra minis, or if you are looking to have a few different colours in your arsenal. Something else I didn't point out, so good to have something free to practice on for beginners. The thought of newbies buying Games Workshop items and practicing on them makes my wallet hurt. Yeah, and mine. Something new that the Army Painter have done in recent years, and something they've added into this one, is inside each one of those, if you can hear that, is a tiny metallic ball bearing, and it's a paint agitator. And they just add them as standard now to each bottle. So when you're done, what you can do is take the cap off, empty that agitator out, and you can put it in your Games Workshop paints or into your other these ones, Army Painter paints. And I think all the rest of their standard ones come with them now. And it just helps with mixing the paint so you don't have to sit there for hours doing this. And it's a nice little thing that they've done that, even in the smaller bottles. And the bottles for this are smaller than your standard wargaming sets. They are 12mm rather than 24, I believe. I'm going to have to double check that one. It's not going to say on that one, is it? But yeah, they are about half the size. But it's still quite a bit. You don't need much, especially when you're thinning them down. But all in all, it is a fantastic little set. And if you're just getting into mini painting, if you're just getting into the hobby, if you know somebody that's getting into the hobby, if you are trying to show people that it's actually relatively easy to get into painting, this is probably a good place to start because it's got it all. It's got everything that you need. You don't need to worry about like getting any extras or any washes or shades. You don't need to worry too much about learning too much because everything's in these books as well. So please go check them out. If you do end up getting one, hey, give them a nudge. Tell them that we sent you. I'll stick some links in the description below on YouTube. And once more, thank you for tuning in and watching the unboxing. We'll set up a raid. We'll get into another channel. Guys, thank you so much for coming along. May the dice gods be ever in your favour. See you around.